Hey there, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here on the channel, and I appreciate your patience in between my videos. Just know I'm taking care of business like a lot of you are, and I know you can all relate. It gets harder and harder out there, but hopefully this channel will grow. Right now we have not even 15,000 subscribers. I'm not sure the number on there, but I hope it to grow in the hundreds of thousands of subscribers. If you can share, like, and subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, that would be greatly appreciated. Helps the channel to grow, and if we reach that amount of subscribers, I can obviously spend more time and put more time into this and help people in need. And hopefully you guys are getting things out of these videos, I hope. So I appreciate all of you being here. Usually at a general doctor, meaning a family doctor or your main doctor's office, they give you this test. It's a questionnaire that helps detect past trauma, especially childhood trauma. Now, I believe this test is geared for childhood trauma because it is called ACE. ACE is the name of the test, and it stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences Test. Okay, so the questions are geared for childhood, but I'm sure there's a similar test, I would think, that would deal with adult trauma as well, or it could pick up signs of, teenage trauma or trauma later. I'm not sure what questions are on it. I'd have to get a copy of one of the tests and really look it over. I don't have a copy. Maybe I can find it online. But it's basically a very simple test that a general physician will give a patient up front to begin with to see if they have justifiable reasons for their physical impairments or their physical symptoms. So they won't dismiss the patient. So they won't insinuate that the patient is hypochondriac or making it up or is just depressed. And, hopefully they won't be throwing antidepressants at somebody who has scored high on this test. Because if they score high on this ACE test, it indicates that they most likely have endured some very traumatic things in their childhood or earlier years, which is why their body is less resistant to handling stress, and why their bodies tend to be weaker at a weaker point. Their immunity is weaker, their energy levels down. They have less reasoning skills sometimes, or ability to cope or make decisions. But perhaps they can't be as fast as other people when it comes to completing different tasks. So it gives the general doctor an idea that what they're experiencing is real, and not to gaslight them and not to dismiss their symptoms as just being psychosomatic, or thinking they're a hypochondriac and they're just depressed and none of their symptoms are real. It will indicate that, yes, there is a psychological and physical cause for the ailments that they may be experiencing. Okay, so again, that test is named the ACE test. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences Test. Okay, so ask your physician about it, whether you've taken it, maybe you have, or whether you can take it, and see what your score is. If it scores high, over a certain number, I'm not sure what the number range is, but it does alert the doctor to take you seriously and to, validate your claims of physical illness going on. You have valid reasons, in other words, guys. So don't let anybody gaslight you if that's what's going on. Now, why does narcissistic abuse produce a high ACE score? Well, a lot of reasons, guys. You've been there. You know what it does to your body. I don't have to tell you. The lack of sleep, the anxiety, you're on high alert. You're depleting your adrenal glands of adrenaline, which used to only be depleted. Your adrenal glands were only depleted in the old times, like the Western days and whatever, under times of war and famine usually. But now it seems like people's adrenal glands are getting burnt out and they're using up all their adrenaline just growing up in their family, or being married to a narcissist will deplete your adrenal glands of adrenaline, and your fight or flight response is depleted. In other words, you can't react to emergencies as fast. You've depleted all of your emergency resources. Your adrenaline is basically shot, gone. So in other words, if a lion ran up to you or was going to attack you before your adrenal glands were burnt out, you'd probably run for the hills, pull out a shotgun, do whatever you have to do to defend yourself. But after your adrenal glands have been depleted with ongoing chronic trauma, day in and day out over the span of years, your whole childhood or childhood and adult life, well, a lion could be running up to attack you and you just freeze. You're blank. You have nothing else to give. You can't react. Your fight or flight response for emergencies is gone. You've used it all with the narcissist or with your narcissistic family unit or just dealing with the day in and day out abuse and scapegoating that you've dealt with. Or it could have been, God forbid, physical violence or sexual abuse. All of you have your story, and it's serious. And you can have autoimmune issues, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, lupus, Sjogren's, a whole bunch of autoimmune diseases can happen. And a lot of you suffer from neuropathy, circulation problems, vagus nerve issues. It goes on and on. There's a whole list of physical problems. I discussed them in a past video. But hopefully a doctor is aware of what can be affected after trauma in a person's life. And this test will at least validate that. If you answer the questions and it really indicates on the ACE test guidelines that, yes, this person answered these questions in a manner that indicates that they have suffered trauma at an early age or throughout their life, then not only does the doctor tend to validate your ailments more, guys, but they'll know how to treat it better. If they think it's all in your head, they're just going to throw you a bunch of antidepressants or some anti-anxiety medication or something that'll totally numb you, and it won't address the issue. It won't validate what you've gone through and put you on the path to healing. But if this test score is higher than it should, and it shows that you've been impacted by trauma and abuse, or you suffer from PTSD or complex PTSD, and again, complex PTSD is the ongoing abuse that goes on for years, not just a one-day event. A car accident would be a one-day event where you have PTSD, maybe you're scared to drive, you have flashbacks about the accident, but it's a one-day event. And hopefully with therapy and, the right type of treatment, that PTSD will dissipate over time. But complex PTSD is when you endure abuse and trauma and you've had ongoing abuse on a regular basis over a long period of time or repeatedly in your life. And that's, going to be a little more complex. That's why it's called complex PTSD. Because it involves a lot more, and it's really, worn out not only your mental state, but your physical body as well. And it's really done a number on your confidence, and it affects so many things in your life. You haven't had a chance to heal if it's been ongoing. So this test will be a good marker to indicate to a general medical doctor that your physical body has valid things going on with it that need to be addressed, and you're not making it up. It's not all in your head, and the doctor can address those issues more accurately rather than just throw you a bunch of Valiums or some antidepressant medicine. That just masks the problem, guys, and sometimes creates other problems. So it's good to get to the root of the abuse and to acknowledge it and to validate it, that it was real, and to know how to treat it in the future, guys. Let me go over some reasons how it helps. It'll help to provide trauma-informed care. It'll help to understand how stress may be affecting your body. It'll provide tailored treatment for anxiety, GI conditions, chronic pain, dizziness, and other things you may be experiencing, other symptoms. It connects patients with support services as well that you may need, or mental health resources if that's appropriate. And it helps to identify why certain medical conditions are not improving with normal treatment. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. A lot of you have had, certain things going on with your stomach or fatigue or, neuropathy. You could have symptoms of an autoimmune illness, but it's not quite showing on the tests the way they want, so it doesn't get treated. But all of those things you're experiencing could be extremely common and validated as real due to abuse. So please find out about this test. I have to get a copy of one myself to see exactly what the questions are on it. But I believe it's a simple yes or no test, but somehow, some way, it has a way of indicating with markers whether you are experiencing your symptoms due to past trauma or not, especially childhood trauma. So ask about the ACE test and see what your score is. And if it comes up higher, then you know it's had a genuine, real effect on your body, and the doctor is more likely to give you more appropriate and targeted care, as well as provide resources and also validate your concerns. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you've heard of this or if you've taken it or what type of questions are on it. But I thought you guys should know to ask about it so you guys can get the validation you need from medical doctors, which you know is rare after narcissistic abuse. So a lot of people still don't understand the severity of it, and the name has to change. No, maybe we'll have a video and we'll have a contest of some sort, see who can rename narcissistic abuse, see what names we come up with that are allowed on YouTube. Nothing that we'd have to get banned on YouTube for. But anyway, guys, love you all. Let me know what you think, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also follow on Facebook, X, and Rumble. And if you would like one-on-one Christian guidance, please email me at angelhavenministry@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you on how to do that. Love you all, guys. Know I pray for you, and I'll see you soon. God bless.